Hello and welcome to your first session of FR, which is financial reporting. I know many of you are eagerly waiting for this lecture, so welcome aboard. And congratulations on either clearing the skill level or getting exemptions for it. Today, we're going to start on our journey of understanding all the concepts of financial reporting. As you know, that we will start with the theory or basics, and then we'll go to the practical aspects. One important thing before we start is that financial reporting strongly relies on the base of FA or financial accounting. ओके, तो अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपने कुछ चैप्टर स्किप कर दिया है, एग्जाम्प्ट हो गया है, तो वैसा नहीं है. प्लीज ओपन योर F3 textbooks. There is no shortcut around it, and you need to make sure that all the concepts are understood. There is nothing which is unclear, because that will help you a lot for your FR journey. Right? Let's make it a start. First is, what is a conceptual framework? A conceptual framework is basically the outline boundary for financial reporting, where all the theoretical principles, which is the frame of reference, is given for financial reporting. So basically, all the ideas of exactly how to do the financial reporting, what to do, what not to do, are understood through accounting standards, as you already know. But how to develop these accounting standards, how to interpret these accounting standards will be understood through conceptual framework, right? Therefore, a conceptual framework will form the basis for determining which event should be accounted for, how much they should be measured, how should they be noted or narrated to the shareholders and the users of financial statements. So basically, नए accounting standards develop करना और उनको understand करना, इनका foundation is done by the conceptual framework. This helps accounting standards are developed on the same theoretical principles. हर एक accounting standards में consistency और uniformity ensure करता है. The development of accounting standards is less subject to political pressure. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना कि गवर्नमेंट चेंज हो गए तो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड चेंज हो गए. Political scenarios like wars, unrest would change the accounting standards. No, accounting standards need to be unbiased of all of this, free from all of this, which is ensured through the conceptual framework. Accounting standards use a consistent approach. That is, some standards may focus on profit and loss, whereas some may concentrate on valuation of assets. तो हर एक स्टैंडर्ड के सेम कोर underlying principles होंगे, right? And a principle based approach avoids the need for large volumes of rules to address every scenario. कोई एवरी सिनेरियो के लिए यूनिक अलग अलग रूल्स देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. एक ही बेस कंसेप्चुअल फ्रेमवर्क बना लिया तो इसमें सब कुछ आ जाएगा. करेक्ट. What are the drawbacks of conceptual framework? Financial statements are intended for a variety of users, and it is not certain that a single conceptual framework can be designed for all users. ऐसे बहुत सारे areas है जहाँ पे conceptual framework have still not been able to develop good accounting standards like artificial intelligence, human resources की value, cryptocurrency, etc. Given the diversity of user requirements, there may be a need for a variety of accounting standards, each produced for a different purpose. While we say that consistency and uniformity are important, businesses are so diverse, like tech sector, automobile sector, then we have food industry, fashion industry. So actually, we some economics and some finance professionals say that we need unique standards for different purposes. It is not clear that a conceptual framework makes the task of preparing and then implementing standards any easier than without a framework. What they are saying is that even with a framework, there are many issues today with the financial statements with the accounting standards ka interpretation. At times, people do find accounting standards very difficult to interpret, and hence conceptual framework does not make it any easier. ऐसा मतलब ऐसा, is it really so that conceptual framework is making it any easier? As some financial professionals opine. Okay, now what is exactly the purpose of conceptual framework? So as we discussed, it is to assist the IASB to develop IFRS standards that are based on consistent concepts, right? You have to develop IFRS standards which are consistent with all the other standards in order to ensure uniformity. assist the preparers of accounts to develop accounting policies, and in case where there is no IFRS standards applicable to a particular transaction or where a choice of accounting policy exists. So as I said, that new IFRS to be developed, इसका clarity and इसका help will be given by the conceptual framework. So जहाँ पे IFRS नहीं है, as I said, human resources or artificial intelligence, वहाँ पे the conceptual framework will help you to develop these standards and assist all parties to understand and to interpret IFRS standards. And as we discussed, not just to develop the standards, but to make sure that people are clear with how to use them as well. Right? All right. Now, uh, the conceptual framework does not override any IFRS standard, but itself it forms the basis of how to develop these IFRS standards. Right? Let's see now the overall purpose of general purpose financial reporting. So, general purpose financial reporting is basically your balance sheet, your profit and loss, your cash flow, your statement of changes in equity, then your notes to accounts. Correct. So, why exactly are we preparing these financial statements? For who are we preparing these financial statements? When do we need to prepare these financial statements? All of these answers are given with the help of general purpose financial statements. So, let's see them one by one. Okay. First thing, the objective of general purpose financial statements is to provide financial information about the reporting entity that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors in making decisions about providing resources to the entity. Okay, let's break it down. First of all, provide financial information. Financial information of what sorts? Obviously, financial information about income, expense, asset, liability, etc. Correct. About the reporting entity. Reporting entity is the company that we're discussing about. Any random information? No. The information that will be helpful to your existing shareholders as well as the shareholders who want to invest in your company, right? To your lenders, that is debenture holders, bond holders, loan providers, banks, financial institutions, other creditors like your suppliers, etc., in order for them to decide whether they want to provide the resources anymore or not, whether they want to continue transacting with your company, whether they want to do additional transactions with your company, whether they want to reduce the level of transactions with your company depending upon your financial health. Correct. Right. So these lenders, creditors, investors, existing and potential, are called as primary users of the financial statements. Yeah. So therefore, all of these are essentially going to make sure that they can decide through the financial statements whether they can provide resources to your company. In basic, simple terms, whether they can continue transactions with your company, whether they can add the transactions, whether they need to reduce the transactions, etc. Yeah. For example, a supplier will decide what is the financial health. Is the company in a ability to pay our future obligations as well? If it is, great. The supplier will continue its transactions. If the company is doing very well, then the supplier may take one or more consignments. If the company is not doing that well, the supplier may reduce the consignments with the company. Existing and potential investors, lenders, and creditors are called as primary users of the financial statements. Primary users may make decisions about buying, selling, or holding shares. अगर कंपनी अच्छी परफॉर्म करी है, maybe holding. If it's performing very well, buying more shares. Not performing very well, selling shares. Correct. So this is with investors. Same with loan providers, debt instruments, providing or settling the loans. Clear? To make decisions, primary users need to know about. So, what exact information, financial information, do they need? The economic resources of the entity and the claims against the entity. So, when I ask you what exactly is claims, I think you should be able to tell me liabilities. So, if claims are liabilities, economic resources would be assets. Correct? And a change in the resources and the claims. Now, a change in the resources and claims is basically how much are the assets and liabilities changing in this year. So, assets और liabilities का जो difference होता है, उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? Equity. So, basically, how much is the assets and liabilities changing? That means that how much is the equity changing in this year, which we take through the statement of changes in equity, right? And management stewardship. How efficiently and effectively is the entity's management and governing body discharging their responsibilities? ये बहुत important है. So if a company is in good hands, board of directors are good, dedicated, honest, only then the company will be able to fulfill its potential, right? But if the company is not doing that well, then it may be so that even though it has potential, the directors are not very good. So ये दोनों चीजें हम फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन से समझेंगे. एसेट, लाइबिलिटी, changes in equity, and how is good is the management, the governing body doing its job, right? Okay. Now the next concept is accrual accounting. Correct? Accrual accounting का simple concept है that transactions are reported. Now I'm sure that you've already done accrual accounting, so I'll give you a small example. Transactions are recorded, that is, income and expenses are recorded only when it is incurred or earned and not when it is actually received or paid. Okay. To give you a simple example, let's say the office has taken a space on rent. हर महीने का रेंट है 40,000, राइट? तो 40,000 इंटू 12 मंथ्स मतलब एक साल का कितना हो जाएगा? एक साल का हो जाएगा 4,80,000, करेक्ट? ना 4,80,000 के लिए आपने लेट्स से you have paid 4 lakh itself. Okay. Now, do I record 4 lakh in your expense account, your P&L account, or do I record 4 lakh 80,000? The answer is that you record 4 lakh 80,000 because even if you have not paid the entire amount is your expense of this year. So, irrespective of whatever is paid, you are going to record 4 lakh 80,000. Let's take an income. Now, the company has sold goods to a debtor of 6,500, but the debtor has not yet made the payment for it. So, should I record it, not record it? The answer is you should record it because once you have sold it, you earn a right to receive this money. So, therefore, you should record this 6,500 in your income account, even though you have not received it. The same logic is there for early payment and early receipt, correct? So, in this way, accrual concept will help us to figure out what is our outstanding income, outstanding expense in this year, and prepaid expense and income received in advance. Okay, now the next concept is going concern. Now, I'm sure that you also are familiar with this concept. Going concern is basically to figure out whether the company has the ability and whether the company has the ability and the intention to carry its transactions in the foreseeable future. So, what exactly is the foreseeable future? The foreseeable future is a period of next 12 months. Okay, for simplicity, we have taken the foreseeable future as 12 months. So, companies are shut down due to two reasons. First of all, the company has decided that its goals are met and now has decided to retire. It has decided to close down its operations. This is one reason why the company may close down. The second reason why the company may close down is because it cannot any longer do its transactions successfully. It is struggling, facing financial losses, so therefore it has no option but to close down. There are two things. First of all, need, second is intention. So, who do we call a going concern? A going concern is basically an entity who does not have either the need or the intention to close down. Okay, so it does not have the need, transactions अच्छे से चल रहे हैं, assets का health अच्छा है. It does not have the necessity to close down, nor does it have any plan to close down. तो ऐसा अगर you do not have the intention or the need to close down, then you can be called as a going concern. Clear? If you don't have any intention or need to close down. But if you have either an intention or a need to close down, then you no longer remain a going concern. And in that case, so for example, in 2016-17, ऐसा समझा है कि your financial health is deteriorating, you cannot continue as a going concern. Then in 16-17, you have to disclose to your shareholders and other stakeholders that we won't be able to continue in the next 12 months. We are sorry. And 2016-17 का जो balance sheet and P&L है, you will prepare on a special basis, which we call as a breakup basis. Okay. So breakup basis is basically you value your assets and liabilities at the market value because you're very soon going to sell them off. Okay. So 16-17 को ही आपको disclose करना है कि we won't be able to continue in the next 12 months and make as per the breakup basis. Correct? But अगर आपको कोई need या intention नहीं है close down करने का, so that makes you a going concern. Right? I hope सारे concepts are clear. Now, we'll move on to the qualitative elements of the financial statements. There are two main qualitative elements that you need to understand. First is, are the financial statements relevant? Second is, are they faithfully represented? Right? So we'll do one by one analysis of both things. First of all, are they relevant? Okay. So information is relevant if it will help the users of financial statements to make a decision. Okay. Consideration should be given to materiality. इसका मतलब क्या है? For example, let's say that you are a company of 1 crores, 100 lakhs, correct? और आपने आपका स्टेशनरी का खर्चा है कुछ 1000, correct? So you have highlighted the stationery का खर्चा of 1000 in a company which has a turnover of 100 lakhs. So 1000, is it material in 100 lakhs? चेक करो कितना परसेंट आता है. चलो 1000 नहीं 10,000 ले लो. तो 10,000 divided by 100 lakhs. Let's have a look. 10,000 divided by 100 lakhs, which is, if we do it, 0.1%. Okay, so clearly not a significant amount or a material amount. So ऐसी चीजें are not something which the users of financial statements are very focused on. They are focused on items which are material, which are significant, which are important. So in your 100 lakhs ka turnover, if you have an asset which you have purchased which is of 10 lakhs, that is significant, right? If you have a machinery which is of 19 lakhs, that is significant. So in relevance, you need to understand what information is important to the users and make sure that that is properly presented, communicated, and what information is not. If the information is not important, don't omit it, don't remove it, but no need to highlight on it a lot, right? So materiality is information which, if you don't explain, if you don't present, it could reasonably be expected to influence the decisions of your primary users. ऊपर देखा primary users कौन है? Creditors, potential existing investors and loan providers. तो अगर आपने ये information नहीं दी तो इनका decision making affect होगा. तो obviously ये information बहुत important है, बहुत significant है, और ये ऐसी information को हम बोलते हैं material information. तो ये material information है, इसको definitely हमें financial statements में properly disclose करना है, right? The next thing is faithful representation. Faithful representation is in three things. First of all the information should be complete. As I said, no information can be misstated or hidden or concealed, correct? Neutral. You cannot favor any conclusion. You cannot point it out that, see, our profit has increased by 10%, or see, we have reduced the loans by 15%. ऐसा आप कोई चीज पॉजिटिव या नेगेटिव हाईलाइट नहीं कर सकते. आपका फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट शुड बी न्यूट्रल and free from error or fraud. There are two types of mistakes. First of all, those are unintentional, which we call as errors, and second are which are intentional, which we call as frauds. So your financial statement should be free from all kinds of errors and frauds. Clear? Okay. Which does not mean it should be perfect in every way. Mistake मतलब एक हाथ immaterial, non important mistake होगी तो चलेगा. but at least material, important areas में it should be free from error and fraud. Prudence. Prudence is exercising caution, exercising carefulness, especially where areas of judgment are required. कहाँ पे areas of judgment लगते हैं? Provision for doubtful debts, warranty claims, pension benefits, जहाँ पे आपका judgment लगता है या estimation लगता है, वहाँ पे आप random guess नहीं कर सकते. बहुत carefully calculations करो और उसके basis पे you make a conclusion. Correct? Okay. Now, what are the other quality characteristics that we are going to focus on? The first is comparability, we have verifiability, we have timeliness, and we have understandability. So let's focus on it one by one. Comparability is basically that your financial statement should be comparable. Now, your financial statement should be comparable in two ways. First of all, as we call as the inter-firm comparison, that is comparison of one competitor to the other. Tata Motors with Hyundai, or we have TCS with Infosys, etc. Second is intra-firm comparison. That is comparison of financial statements of one company with their own financial statements. अब इसमें बहुत important है कि आप accounting policies consistent रखो. So what do I mean by this? For example, let's say that in the year 2021, which is the current year, okay, in the year 2021, I'm making my financial statements as per SLM, straight line method. In the year 1920, that is the previous year, I made my financial statements as per WDV. Okay, पिछला year WDV, this साल SLM. Can the financial statements be compared? The answer is obviously no. So यहाँ पे क्या करना पड़ेगा? We need to restate the 1920 के financial statements as per the current method, which is what SLM. तो अभी क्या होगा? करंट ईयर में SLM यूज हो रहा है. पिछले साल में जो WDV था वो हमने चेंज करके इस साल के लिए, मतलब पिछले साल का तो हो गया, इस साल के लिए we'll restate the figures and take it to SLM so that these two can be compared with each other directly. Clear? So therefore, हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा कि preferably use consistent accounting policies every year. Okay? ये accounting policies disclose कर लो. If an entity is changing an accounting policy, the change is applied retrospectively. 1920 का तो balance sheet file हो गया. इस साल you will compare 2021 with 1920. So in that case, 1920 के restate कर लो. WDV से SLM कर लो so that both years are as per SLM and you can compare them with each other. Right? Comparability is not same as uniformity. Accounting policies could be changed under two circumstances. If it results in more reliable information, आपको समझा कि आपकी कंपनी के लिए SLM is better, or if it is made compulsory by an IFRS standard. But in both cases, you need to make sure that both the years match with each other. So if previous year is per WDV, restate it and make it to SLM. Clear? So in this manner, you will cover comparability. Verifiability is make sure that all the information that you have explained has documentary evidence, documentary support. It can be cross-checked, all right? And timeliness, you cannot justify if financial statements of 2021 you have given to the users in 2023. Can't justify. So you need to make sure that you finalize the financial statements within a reasonable time. That does not mean you rush through it. You have to have a balance between reliable information and timeliness, right? Okay, understandability. Make sure that the financial statements are not very complex, very tangled, very difficult to understand. Make sure that they are in lucid, simple terms so that all the users of financial statements will be able to understand them. Okay. Even though they are not CAs, ACCAs, financial experts, other users should also be able to understand them decently. Okay. Let's discuss the activity one. Which of these following statements describe comparability? Have a read. Okay. So the first one, the non-cash effects of transaction should be reflected in the financial statements, even though the cash is not received or paid. This is accrual. Information should be provided to a decision maker in time to influence decision making. This is timeliness. Information should have a predictive or confirmatory value, reliability, and similar items of within a financial statement should be given similar treatment. This is comparability. Okay, so we have the fourth option for comparability. Okay, moving on, the elements of financial statements. यहाँ पे हम क्या देखने वाले हैं? चार elements. What are these चार elements? पांच elements actually. Asset, liability, equity, income, expense. Today we are going to cover asset and liability and equity, and in the coming class we'll cover income expense in the future part. Right. Okay. So what is an asset? An asset is an economic resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events. Let's break it down. Okay. Economic resource. An economic resource. What does it mean? What do we mean by economic resource? An economic resource is basically anything that is giving returns or money or income to the company. So, two things. Either you can use an asset as a machinery, land, equipment to make goods and services. So, these goods and services will bring you income that we can call an asset. Second is you have a building which is vacant, you can give it on rent. Okay, so that is not your main goods and services, but you can generate income out of it. That is also an asset. So, anything which is giving you income, return, is called as an economic resource. Okay, controlled by the entity. Controlled by the entity is of two kinds. First of all, owned by the entity or leased by the entity. So, owned is obviously till you sell it. Lease is when till your lease term is over. Correct. Okay. तो ये आपको control क्यों आया? Because as a result of past events. So, what are these past events? Okay, so for example, you purchased a machinery in 2019 to make goods and services. What is the past event? You purchasing the machinery. Do you have control? Yes, you own the machinery. And what is the economic resource? The economic resource is that you can make goods and services out of it and get income. So, past event is the action of buying the asset or taking it on lease. Anything which gives you monetary returns, either goods or services or indirect, which is owned or leased by the entity as a result of taking it on lease or buying it. If all the three elements are there, we can call it as asset. Assets are of two types, uh, current, non-current. Examples of assets are receivables, cash, machinery, land, etc. Now, what are the economic benefits? Cash flow, like on investment resources, ये भी आ जाएगा. किसी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया है? Yes. You own the invest shares? Yes. Past event, buying these shares. What is the economic resource? You will get dividend on it. Then yes, it is an asset. You can use it for goods or services. I've already covered that. और it is also a reduction liabilities. ये भी बहुत important है. If you have cash, okay, इस cash से कुछ income आने वाला है क्या? Yes, if you invested in a bank. But अगर ideal cash है, can that be called as an asset? It can, because it can help you to pay the creditors, pay the loans. So even a reduction in liability can also be called as an asset. Clear? Okay. So these three things together make an asset. What makes a liability? A present obligation. Obligation मतलब किसी को पैसा देना. Present, currently पैसा देना है. To transfer an economic resource. Now we know what is an economic resource. Money as a result of past events. इसका मतलब क्या है? Okay, first of all, let's say you have taken a loan in 2010, repayable in 10 years. तो past event क्या है? You've taken the loan. ठीक है. तो 2020 में क्या करना है? You have to transfer money. Is it an obligation? Can you choose not to give it? No. So the past event is taking it on loan, transfer of economic resources, paying the money, and an obligation. You have to pay it. You have no option. You have no choice to get out of it. That is called as a liability. All three things coming together becomes a liability. Another example could be that you purchase goods on credit. This is the past event. The credit period is 30 days. After 30 days, you obviously have to pay the economic resource, that is money. And for uh, you have to pay the money, and it is an obligation. You cannot get out of it. So all three things coming together will become a liability. Clear? Okay. Now, liability is something that you cannot avoid. Very important. तो आपने वो goods purchase किए थे, 30 days का credit period था. You have to pay money now. It is a present obligation. You cannot get out of it. Then all three things coming together forms a liability. Okay. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज इक्विटी. इक्विटी बहुत सिंपल है. आपके सभी एसेट्स का ऐड करके अगर आप लाइबिलिटीज माइनस करोगे, करंट एंड नॉन करंट बोथ, दैट बिकम्स इक्विटी. आई forgot to give you examples of liabilities. You could have loans, debentures, you could have creditors, you could have overdraft. Yes? Okay. So equity कैसे बनता है? Equity में share capital आता है, different types of reserves आते हैं, like you have revaluation reserve, general reserve, share premium account, main share capital, करेक्ट? तो सारे करंट और नॉन करंट एसेट्स ऐड करने के बाद अगर आप करंट और नॉन करंट लाइबिलिटीज सबट्रैक्ट करोगे तो what remains is the equity. Okay, with this I'm going to pause for now and we'll continue with the rest of the chapter very shortly in the coming lecture. I hope you understood everything. If you don't, or if you didn't, please make sure you rewind it or you can reach out to me and make sure you clear your doubts. Thank you everybody. Have a good day.